Hello and welcome to my channel. For today's IELTS video, we will be doing task 2. The question is, many people in cities today live in high-rise apartment blocks. What are the advantages and disadvantages of this type of living? As simple as that. So what are the benefits and drawbacks of living in a tall building today? That's the question. So whenever you're getting a question in the examination hall, the first thing you should be doing is, of course, brainstorming. During brainstorming, you might get more than points that is required to write in the examination. For example, if you're writing 2 points in the advantages side, you can get 4 points for that during the brainstorming. Or you can get even more than that. That depends on you. Which point you can elaborate more during the examination is what you need those all extra points for. So for this essay, I would like to have 4 points for each, and then we can focus maybe on 2, maybe on 3, depends on the size of your explanation and the time too. So let's start with the advantages of living in a high-rise building. Okay. So A for advantages, D for disadvantages. First advantage that I can say of living in a tall building will be less noise pollution. Why? The higher you go, the lesser you listen. That's a theory. So if you're living in a tall building, you're living on the 10th floor of the building, you will hear less and less of those traffic noise, which is really good. Second advantages or advantage can be whenever you're living in a tall building, you will get a wonderful view. The view will be so beautiful that you might take pictures of that every day morning. It will be like a bird eye view. So bird eye view is the second point. Third point, which I stress the most, is when you are living in a tall building like this. So in each floor, suppose there are 6 families in each floor. If your building is till 10th floor, so 6 multiplied by 10, 60. 60 different families living in a slender or a tall building like that. So that can be utilization of space for sure. Of SP, I would say. So utilization of space, which is really important if you're living in a populated city or even a populated country, or maybe a city in the downtown, those areas. Fourth point, entertainment facilities. What kind of entertainment facilities depends on the building type that you are living. For example, I have seen most of the buildings which are high rise has their own gym, has their own swimming pools, has their own game room, it has its own community hall. So yeah, that's a benefit of having all those kind of entertainment facilities, because different types of families living there, they have their different needs for entertainment. So that's a good point. Now for disadvantages. Every coin has 2 sides. So this kind of feature, like living in a high-rise apartment, will have its like own drawbacks. First drawback, which is the most important drawback, according to me, is whenever you are living in a tall building like this, during any kind of disaster or natural calamities like fire or earthquake, you have to leave the building as soon as possible with limited stuffs that you own. Having 60 different families living in a building, and the time taken by those families to leave all their stuff behind, taking the important stuff with them, takes time. So that's evacuation issues. Second problem, you can imagine living in a tall building using elevators, going up, coming down, yeah. But whenever you are having power outage, the lifts will be working for some time and then it won't. So if you're living in a high-rise building during the times of power outage, people living in fifth or sixth floor will be having issues, and even the elderlies will be having issues getting up and down. There will be some people who are handicapped, they will be having troubles too. So the issues for mobility will be there during power outage. Next, 60 families living in a building, they will be having their pets. It is hard to imagine people without pets nowadays because we prefer staying somewhere with a dog or a cat. Some people can have allergies, like they can be allergic to the pets too. So if you're living with 60 different families, or 59 because you are the 60th maybe, so if you're living with 59 different families, some of them are owning dogs and cats, and you are a person with allergy, so that can be an issue as well. Maybe high-rise building owners or people living in a high-rise building, they don't have pets or keep pets, but some people would love to have pets with them. So pet issue is definitely a bigger disadvantage. Pet issue. Last one for now. Imagine back in 2020 when COVID started. Somebody living in a high-rise building like that and getting COVID. He would be infecting most of the people living in his surroundings. So that building would be declared as a zone where outbreak has begun for COVID. If not COVID, there can be other disease that can be contagious. And people living in a tall building during an outbreak of certain type of disease, they will be asked to stay in their house. They won't be leaving their house, and that will cause a trouble for every single member of the family because they will be restrained in that building block. So, outbreak issues. So now we can see we are having 4 advantages, 4 disadvantages. We can take any 2 of them on which we can elaborate more. It depends on us. It depends on the examples that we can give. Examples are basically taken from practical life. So whatever you can elaborate, you can use that. If you want to add your own examples, you can go ahead and add, and you can make your own kind of essay. Let's check the vocabularies. People say IELTS is all about vocabularies. It is true, but not that true. Like, you don't need to have all those words that are really heavy and sophisticated. You can use different types of that word. Like the same word, you can use different types of the word. So let's see what kind of different kind of vocabularies we can have for this essay. For example, if you check the question once again, it says many. That's the first word, many. So for our vocab today, or vocabulary, first word is many. What different kinds of vocabularies you can give, like anything that comes in your mind. A large number, for example, yeah. Next can be a plethora of. Okay, my eraser was not working. There. Okay. A plethora of. Second, people. So second word is people. Let's try. Synonyms of people can be human beings. So people, human beings, individuals, persons, and so on. Cities, the fourth word. So cities, it can be urban area. Then today, present day, live, dwell, reside, stay, next set of words that we are trying to show the vocabularies will be high-rise apartment. So I will just write the short form, high-rise apartment or high-rise apartment blocks. They can be skyscrapers, tall buildings, multi-stories, next, if you're using the word advantages, you can say pros, disadvantages, cons. Next is type of living, again short form, TOL. So type of living can be lifestyle, so these are some of the basic synonyms that we can use in our essay. If you have more than that, go ahead and use them. It's your essay, it's you, how you write your essay, and that will turn out all good. So the starting paragraph can be, living in skyscrapers nowadays is seen among a large number of urban dwellers. So here I tried to use skyscrapers, large number of urban dwellers, and there can be some pros and cons of this lifestyle. So the type of living was changed to lifestyle, advantages, disadvantages were changed to pros and cons. So for the paragraph 2, when we are speaking of advantages, we can say, to begin with, the positive aspect. So for this one, advantages, I said positive aspect of residing in tall buildings. Again, for skyscrapers, I said tall buildings, which is also a nice vocabulary that we know. Firstly, it is the bird's eye view. So I'm using the second point here about the view. Firstly, it's a bird's eye view that is enjoyed or cherished. You can use any one of them. Then cherished by members staying in that building. So people residing in that building, living in that building, members staying in the building. This explains why there is a demand of this type of apartments. For sure, we know that high-rise buildings have their own market when it comes to people residing there. The scenic beauty. So again, for the bird's eye view, we used scenic beauty, that is viewed from the top floors, are unparalleled. Unparalleled can be unmatched. Like you will find nowhere this type of beauty. So that's unparalleled. Next, I'm trying to give an example. So I will say, to exemplify, when I moved to Calgary, I was living in a multi-storied apartment and the view of the downtown from my balcony was simply majestic. So when you're living somewhere, you can view all the different high-rise apartments from your building, if your building is a tall one too. And that makes your life, I would say, living in that building a little better because of the view, for sure. Additionally, staying in a high-rise building has its own benefits. So advantages, pros, plus point, positive sides. Now we're saying benefits. When it comes to the reduction of noise pollution, so that's the first point we did while brainstorming. That is to say, the higher we go, the fainter traffic noise it becomes. Or the higher we go, the fainter traffic noise becomes. I don't think it should be there. It looks redundant. So the higher we go, the fainter traffic noise becomes. This in turn is favored by a mass of human beings. Mass of human beings again means large number of human beings, plethora of human beings who enjoy living in peaceful environment. And now this is a comma, by the way. It looks like there was a full stop and I changed that to comma. So who enjoy living in peaceful environment while living in urban areas. So you're living in a city but you are having peaceful environment. It is like best of both worlds, right? So that's what I tried to write here. And now an example. So to provide an instance from my experience, while staying in the high-rise apartment in Calgary, I was never disturbed by the chaotic environment, although I lived beside a busy street. So again, you should not be writing for example, all of the time. It is to provide an instance from my example, or sorry, from my experience, or to exemplify, to instantiate, but not. Starting the paragraph 3 is, however, like there are advantages for sure, but, so however, there are few possible drawbacks of this style of living, type of living, style of living, lifestyle. We are just trying to change that word form. Okay. So the most significant disadvantage. So I'm using the word disadvantage here. You can say the most significant drawbacks, which can also be the same word that you're using in a different form or like a synonym, would be the problems associated with evacuation process. Undoubtedly, evacuating a high-rise building is a Herculean task or arduous task. You can say like any kind of hard or like this kind of task is next to impossible. Those kind of tasks. As it includes confusion among the residents, during an emergency situation. And now the example. So to instantiate, in the year 2010, Vista Towers in Calgary had a fire outbreak, and it took almost 4 hours for the firefighters and building authorities to evict all residents from the building. Had the fire spread quickly, some residents would have lost their lives if they were not moved out of the building. So had the fire means if the fire was spreading quickly, then the consequences would have been worst. That's what I tried to say here. And we are adding the word furthermore. It is like a continuation of the disadvantage para. Furthermore, power outages in skyscrapers can be an annoyance. Yeah, it can be an annoyance for sure. With power outages or disruption of power services, mobility comes to a standstill, or you can say mobility comes to a halt, means a sudden stop. Residents living above the fourth or fifth levels, that is fourth or fifth floors, would not be able to climb the flight of stairs back and forth their room to the ground, like going up, coming down, going up, coming down when you need to do your groceries and whatnot. To cite an example, in India, there are some metropolitan cities that is prone to power disruption. So there are some cities in India, no doubtedly they are metropolitan cities, they are well-developed cities. A large number of people are living in those cities, but power disruption can be something that can cause trouble in those cities too. So tall apartments and their residents, tall apartments and their residents go through a stressful phase whenever they do not have their elevators working. Not tall apartments go through troubles. It should be the residents of tall apartments. Residents of tall apartments go through a stressful phase whenever they do not have their elevators working. People with disabilities have the most trouble whenever lifts do not work due to lack of electricity. An important point here would be whenever there is an essay for advantages and disadvantages and they do not ask your opinion, don't give your opinion, because you should be only writing what you are asked in an IELTS exam most of the time. So if you're providing your opinion that, yeah, there are some advantages and disadvantages, but I feel tall apartments should be blah, 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 like that, it can deduct your band score. So for this essay, it is just advantages, disadvantages. For you, it would be to summarize a plethora of individuals. So a plethora means a large number that we tried to say. So a plethora of individuals, this should be a small s. So a plethora of individuals stay in high-rise buildings in urban areas or cities, and this trend has both positive and negative sides. If you get something like this essay, you can probably try to have your own ideas or use one of the ideas that we had today in the video. If you liked my video, you can go ahead, subscribe to my channel, give a thumbs up, and I would be making another video real soon. Thank you so much and have a great day, guys. All the best.